Alright, hello, I'm back. Um, so I finished my first full year of architecture at Adelaide University, and this is just a video for my overall thoughts on my the semester that's just passed. Um, I haven't done a video log on my thoughts for quite a while, which I was meant to be. I originally set out to do them weekly. I think I started alright this semester, but I found that there wasn't really enough content covered each week to make a full video, so I ended up just skipping them, I guess. So in today's video, it's probably going to be quite long, and if it's too long, I might chop it up into a few different parts. But I'm going to be covering pretty much all my work that I did in Design Studio 1 and the final project for my history assignment, history course, um, as that's all I think is worth sharing from history. All right, so I guess we'll just jump right across. Here is the first assignment, which I think I talked about earlier on, and this is the group assignment on the Casa de Vidro in Brazil. So the overall brief was to pick a early 20th century architecture, and then we had to make a physical model of it, and then do the hand drawings of the elevations and plans. So we went for the Casa de Vidro, obviously, and I'll just jump through the slides. So that's the building in real life. The overall concept was to make the building, the home at the time, involved within the garden, and feel like it's growing. The garden's growing around it, and it's really immersed inside the surrounding areas. So these are the hand drawings that I did. They turned out alright. I think there's a few little flaws, but overall I think they're pretty good. Obviously the layout of the page I think could be improved as well, as the scale bar looks a bit wonky. But I think the title block down there is quite nice. Again, more plans for the upper floor. So the ground floor is quite small, and the main floor is quite large for many houses in today's age. Yeah, and then elevations. I'm going to upload a copy of each of these to the blog, so if you want to download them there to get a better view, they'll be there. Yeah, hopefully they're coming through alright though on the video. This is a section, obviously, from looking from the same view, just cut through the stairwell. If I go back up through the stairwell, which is just through here, as you can see the cut line. Cool. And then this is the photographs of the physical model. The model turned out alright as well. Being group work, it is a little bit difficult, as people are at different skill levels and people's standards are different, but overall I think it worked well as a team, and yeah, we got it done pretty quickly compared to most other groups. There's a front on view and the side, yeah. So that's about it for that one. Sign wasn't too bad. It was good fun, good way to start out the course in a group setting, so that you can sort of just meet some new people. And even though I have already been in uni for a semester and I was still grouped up with someone that I met at the very start, it was still good to get interaction with other people. Alright, if we jump across, so back to, this is my second assignment for Design Studio. This is a local conservation, yeah, I think it's a conservation park. It's at Moralta Falls. just on the eastern side of Adelaide. We were given two different sites along the main walking the main walking path of the area, and we could pick anywhere on the site to build a house or a shelter was the criteria, not really a house. So we had to have a living area and a bedroom, and I think it was a total of 25 square meters, so very small. We could obviously have extra space for walkways and then exterior. This is just like a decking area, so exterior seating. Yeah, so that's the site plan, and if it goes to there we go. So this is just the process from visiting the site to coming up with some sketches from materials found at the site, and then extruding and abstracting those lines to come up with some forms, and then some different analysis on like sun position, wind movement, and then realizing the structure in a 3D form. And I made a rough model of the structure as well, the materials I want to use and the concept. And then so up here we have the floor plan. So the sleeping area on the right, angled at 45 degrees to get the morning sun over the ridge line across the river, and then also some views down the valley was my decision behind that, as well as some evening sunlight. The site can be quite bright and have the sun bearing down on during summer, but during winter it is quite shaded as there's a very high ridge line just across the river that it looks up onto. So I wasn't too worried about overhangs or anything, as I positioned it under the trees to give the protection in summer, but also trying to let in as much light as I can in winter when it's obviously quite shaded. And then just the sitting area here on the left that has a little decking out in front. I could have put more detail into it. I probably should have some lines to show that these are made out of timber, and then of course on the decking probably should have done the same, as well as it seems like we got some steps, or to show steps, which would have lost me some marks. But I think these drawings are alright overall. I think they show pretty well how the site works, and as obviously it's built around the tree. And then this is the section straight through here. Again, could have added more detail in the materiality, as this is concrete, and then that's wood, which I probably should have added. Looking back at it now, yeah, the drawings aren't really complete. I still got a decent mark for my overall design, but yeah, I should have added more detailing to my drawings. I thought I could get away with it because I had these renders, which I did in Photoshop. They turned out quite well, except the criteria is hand drawn and an emphasis just on the drawings, not really the renders. And these were deemed not as successful, which, yeah, looking at it now, I think overall on the building is quite well done. The materials with the wood texture and the concrete, and then the water and the ground works well. Probably could have just extended the ground line to make it a flat square, but I think it still looks alright. And then, but these trees back here and my drawing on them don't really fit in, and could have used more work. I was trying to learn just incorporation of watercolor, which you can see in my plan, and some of the feedback I got was that these were the plan and the 3D, this one here, were a lot more successful than my renders, which I can see they are. Yeah, I see that now with some more reflection on hindsight. But again, I think my drawing skills are fairly decent here. These ones were a lot more successful than these. I'd say these are a bit lacking, and it's probably where I lost marks. And just some references in my 3D view. Again, that I feel like that one's alright. Yeah, cool. And then so my final assignment for that one, for that course, the Design Studio 1, is the campus joining, which I have talked about quite extensively in my very last video. It was just sort of a preparation for the presentation, but now that I've done the presentation, I can say that it did go quite well. And again, small reflection on this, I am still just quite happy with the overall presentation of my work. Where during the presentations, they were giving pretty much instant feedback on their thoughts on people's designs and questioning them. But for mine, I was one of 2 people in my group, I'd say, that didn't have any real criticism. I was just asked what I thought I could improve upon, and I just thought I could use a bit more greenery. There is, in the plan, there is a fair bit of greenery, but it is still quite divided, and I think they were looking for a bit more of softscape incorporated throughout, but I'm still happy with my design. And then in response to that, the comment was that all my plantation was very somewhat flat, and as you can see, like, the plants are all very uniform, and they are boxwoods, which I did say could be maintained quite well, which they generally are, which would explain their uniform shape. But just more exploration with plants was the general feedback I got. But overall, they were quite pleased with my work there, and so I did put in a lot of time to that one, and the drawings have turned out quite well, and they still hold up to me right now, which is good. Yeah, so if you want to hear more in depth about my thoughts and considerations for that project, you can just check out my last video. And so that's all for Design Studio 1. Overall in that course, yeah, I think it's a good introduction to architecture, and you sort of get a wide range of possibilities. But the thing is, I'd already done a semester of architecture, and although it's very different, this is very real in the sense of, designing things that could possibly be built around your community, compared to Design Studio 2, which is so abstract, and you're just making forms and creations that you couldn't really create in real life physically. They don't really oblige to the laws of physics, but I felt like I didn't really learn that much. I didn't really understand what precedences were and their incorporation in and importance in your designs, which I did learn throughout this course. But yeah, I wouldn't say that it was overall that helpful, since I'd already done a semester. It was good at refining my skills, and I got to, because I already had decent design skills for like the actual buildings and overall like plans and whatnot, I got to experiment more with my presentation layouts, which I think is going to be quite helpful in the future. Yeah, I think that's my overall takings away from Design Studio 1. Yeah, I can't really add much more to that. And again, I'll have each of those files downloadable on my blog. Alright, so if we for history theory 1, the final assignment, which was worth 50%, I think it was a 1,500-word essay as a comparative text piece between two buildings. One was early 20th century. I think it was before the building had to be constructed before 1968 or around then, and then a newer piece that is constructed after that date. So you could have compared two buildings that were constructed at very similar times, but I didn't go for that. I went for the Seagram building as the old one by Mies van der Rohe, and then the Fuson Art Center in Shanghai, China, by Foster and Heathwick. And then just looking at the comparison between them. The explanation of the assignment was probably the most limiting factor about it all. Originally, for about 3 weeks, we had to do little checkpoints for just like progress milestones, as to show that we've actually done work and we're progressing through the assignment, which did overall help. I don't know what that is. That's just a mistake, and for some reason. And for about 3 weeks, we worked towards the comparison of the buildings, and our fundamental understanding that we were comparing them with was based around materiality, structure systems, and use. I think were pretty much like the main aspects of the history that we talked about throughout the entire course. And then we had another professor come in as like a guest professor to one of our tutorials, and then he explained a lot better and in a lot more depth of how we should be comparing them. We shouldn't just be comparing them based on materiality, like this one's made out of concrete, so is this one, or this one's made out of concrete and this one's made out of steel and glass. But we should look at the structural systems for example, the structural systems of the old building, such as the Seagram, and then how that has had a cultural change that has influenced other buildings, which has then gone on to influence your new building, and then how the new building has then built upon that cultural change and incorporated it into their design, and how that was successful, which is a lot more work than just comparing concrete to concrete. And so after working for about 3 weeks down one path for comparing concretes to a whole shift down a different path, was not very helpful, I would say. And I think that would go for most of the people that were doing the course. I heard the professor talking afterwards that a lot of people were just comparing concretes. But yeah, it would have been helpful to know that at the very start, and have him come in at the very start and push us down the right path from the start. Because I'd already gotten about 12 sources on the buildings that I was comparing, as well as ways to compare them. And then I'd also started writing my ideas and planning my essay before I got pushed down the other path, where most of that information that I gathered wasn't really relevant anymore. And so it just got a lot harder that I had to go back and revisit my bibliography, which I'd already started as one of the checkpoints, revisit my plan, that was also one of the checkpoints, and then revisit just the overall draft that I'd already started, and then try to make that comprehensive. So that's my thoughts on history. Kind of negative at the end, but overall on the course, I just thought it was really fascinating, and I did learn a lot, mainly through the course reader and the lectures, more than my comparative analysis on two buildings. But I wouldn't be able to write that without the other stuff. So yeah. For mostly grades, in Design Studio 1, I got a HD for the first assignment, a D for the second one, a high D for the second one, and then a HD again for the final one, a high HD. So overall, it should even out to a HD for Design Studio 1. And then History 1 for the lead up, all the small progress tasks. I was on a low HD, I think it was, and then for the test, I got a HD, just like about an average HD, and then for the final assignment, I got a D, which dragged me down to about 84%. So about 1% off a HD for both of those, which is unfortunate, but I'm still pretty happy with those results. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say. So I start uni, I'm going back in a bit over 2 weeks, I think it is. And for my second year, I'm starting out with History 2, Design Studio 4, Design Studio 4, and then Representation 2. So I'm keen to expand my skills in representation. And again, getting back into history. I know it's looking at a different time period, or I don't know that. I'm pretty sure it's looking at a different time period, maybe classical or ancient Rome or something like that. So I'm keen to learn more along those lines. And then Design Studio 4, I've got almost no idea what's going to be happening in there. But I'm excited to get back into architecture, back into getting to learning about it in a formal setting. But through the holidays, I've just been reading a book I got from Tadeo Ando, Endeavours. It's a really fascinating book about most of his works. There's lots of pictures of his works, as well as just like his philosophies, and it's almost just sort of a compilation of other people's writings on his works and his philosophies behind his works, as well as some interviews with him as well. That's been a good read so far. I'm 3/4 of the way through. And yeah, I think that's where I'll just leave it. Thanks for tuning in if you made it this far. Alright, I'll see you when I upload another video.